My name is Richard Smith. I'm 37 years old this year. I work as a mid-level engineer at SGI Technology, a major system development company. After joining the company 15 years ago, I've been involved in numerous large-scale projects. It's an April morning. As cherry blossoms fall gently against the office windows, I'm teaching new hires the basics of programming. Double and triple check systems, the foundational structure for handling errors. I explain each part of the programming groundwork with care. Since joining the company, my drive to pursue technical mastery hasn't wavered. Programming is a lot like construction. Without a solid foundation, any impressive structure would be just a house of cards. That's why I never skimp on the basics, building up code carefully, line by line. This is my policy. I'm also dedicated to mentoring my junior colleagues, and as a team leader, I play a central role in the development department. It's not unusual for me to stay at the office until late at night, but the joy of seeing a new program run smoothly is priceless. I've walked this path with pride as an engineer for many years. The cloud over our development department began to form in April during the personnel changes, right as the cherry blossoms were falling. The source of the trouble was the new head of the development department, Charles Jones, a 52-year-old man who boasted about his MBA from the US. He stirred things up from day one. Our company is 20 years behind the world. Starting today, we're adopting a global standard evaluation system. The developers gathered in the main conference room murmured among themselves. On the screen was a chart of the new evaluation system, displayed entirely in English. Coding speed, bug fix rates, commit counts. All tasks were quantified and would be evaluated daily. Richard, what does this graph mean? Oh, in short, it means they're judging us purely by numbers. Hey, keep it down. This is a KPI-based quantitative evaluation. I won't tolerate the vague assessments of the past. From now on, numbers will tell the whole story. Mike, a seasoned programmer with 25 years at the company, raised his hand quietly. Excuse me, but what about quality control? Mastering fundamental skills takes time. That's a waste of time. Quality can be left to automated testing. The days of humans checking things visually are over. A heavy atmosphere filled the conference room. Everyone involved in system development for years knows that some bugs simply can't be caught by automated testing alone. And another thing, all technical training is canceled. Learn on the job. Classroom learning is just a waste of time. But sir, without foundational training. Silence. Don't you get it yet? The world only cares about results. No one values the process. From that day, the development department's environment completely changed. Monitoring software that tracked working hours was installed on every engineer's desk. A red light constantly blinked in the corner of each screen, logging every action. In May, the first casualty emerged. Mike resigned, citing health issues. 25 years of experience and knowledge were lost in an instant. Mike only left 3 pages of handover documents. Yeah, he wasn't even given enough time to document all that knowledge. The younger engineers, constantly pressured by deadlines, hadn't grasped the basics. Errors in handling exceptions ignored security holes. Even when these issues were raised in review meetings, Charles dismissed them. Too slow, other companies are already working on next-gen systems. If we keep this pace, our company will be left behind. Understood. I'll provide a more detailed description of the issues and depict the severity of the situation. By mid-May, the worst happened. A critical error occurred in the payment system handled by a rookie, resulting in double charges on customer accounts. What's going on? Whose responsibility is this? Steve, a new engineer, stood up, pale-faced. The error stemmed from the lack of a basic checking function. I was responsible for reviewing it. The fault lies with me. Of course, the remnants of the old system always cause problems. The atmosphere in the conference room froze. What used to be unthinkable, basic mistakes, had now become a daily occurrence. That night, while I was working late on fixing issues, James brought over a document. Richard, take a look at this. Since last month, our quality control standards have been secretly lowered. The document he presented was shocking. Test items had been reduced by 30% compared to the previous year. The review time for programs was cut to less than half. Even the standards for error checks had been significantly relaxed. In the next morning's meeting, Charles announced a new policy. To improve efficiency, veteran employees are now prohibited from mentoring younger staff. All necessary information is summarized in the manual. The so-called manual was a flimsy booklet, barely 20 pages long. Years of accumulated technical knowledge were reduced to this simple guide. Then, in early June, more changes came with the announcement of personnel shifts. Veteran engineers in the technical department were reassigned to sales and customer support. At this rate, the company's technical capabilities. Yeah, it's crumbling from the core. Anxiety and frustration filled the development floor. Who would be the next to be reassigned? That tension made the engineers' shoulders more rigid than necessary. Amidst this, a major bank's core system development project came in. Without hesitation, Charles decided to accept it. The deadline is 3 months. Success here will prove our new system is correct. 3 months isn't realistic. Normally, a project of this scale would take at least 6 months. Again with that outdated thinking. At that moment, Steve, a young programmer, stood up resolutely. Richard is right. With this schedule, we can't guarantee quality. What? Even you are taking a defiant attitude. The next day, Steve was reassigned to a regional sales office. Everyone fell silent. Simply voicing an opinion now led to immediate transfer. A climate of fear-based control had taken hold. By late June, development had become extremely challenging. Rookies, barely more than amateurs, were now handling the bank's core system. Veteran engineers were sweating with worry. This code is far too risky. It's full of security holes. Yeah, there's even a chance customer data could be exposed. Even when these issues were raised in the review meeting, Charles brushed them off. Leave the details for later. Just make it work. This is the global standard for development. In early July, the situation finally hit a breaking point. A critical bug was discovered in the test environment. There was a chance that customers' personal information could be transmitted externally without encryption. Sir, under these circumstances, we should decline the project. What nonsense! Declining is out of the question. It's your incompetence that's causing this. I can't have my reputation suffer because of it. That evening, a transfer order was left on my desk. Assignment to maintenance department. I had expected this, but now it was my turn to be reassigned. Charles delivered the news with a domineering attitude. This is your last chance. If you comply, I'll ensure you're treated fairly. A management that disregards technical expertise will inevitably leave a trail of disaster. Oh, is that a threat? Interesting. Let's see how long you can keep that attitude. We have no need for relics like you anymore. My subordinates watched with sad eyes as I left for my reassignment. My seat was no longer part of the development floor I once knew. A week had passed since the reassignment. In a dusty corner of the maintenance department, I spent my days handling issues with programs created by my former team. Outside, the rainy season continued without end. James came in secretly to update me on the situation. As expected, the bank system project was in utter chaos. Richard, we can't keep up with fixing the code written by the rookies at this rate. Yes, I know, but there's nothing I can do now. Just then, a scream echoed from the system development room. Emergency, all the test data has disappeared. No one had even checked the backup system. The consequences of neglecting technical expertise were starting to become a harsh reality. Through the office window, I could see the gray sky. Caught between my pride as an engineer and the tough reality, a new challenge was beginning. The collapse of the development department was now just a matter of time. 1 month had passed since my reassignment to maintenance. I was still buried in system troubleshooting, sitting in the same dusty corner of the old office. Outside, the summer sun was blazing. Then, one day, the bank system projects hit a critical turning point. In the testing phase, a series of fatal bugs started to emerge. James rushed in, out of breath. Richard, it's bad. The entire system has gone down. Calm down specifically. What happened? The connection to the database suddenly dropped, and all customer information has disappeared from view. The situation was more severe than I'd anticipated. The code written by the rookies lacked even basic error handling. In the worst case, there was even a risk of customer financial information being leaked. In the conference room, Director Charles was furious. Who's responsible? Whose fault is this? The rookie engineers kept their heads down, unable to speak. At that moment, James stepped forward. This is all of our responsibility, the lack of a proper training system and an unreasonable schedule. Excuses, because of your incompetence, my reputation. Suddenly, the conference room door opened. A representative from the bank, our client, had arrived. What's going on here? How could such a basic mistake happen? Charles's demeanor instantly changed. My apologies, actually, this is the legacy of the previous staff. Since I took over, I've been working on organizational reform. Previous staff. Yes, we suspect that the old team of engineers intentionally sabotaged the projects, especially a man named Richard. Suddenly, I found myself being blamed for everything. James, listening to the conversation from the corner of the room, turned pale. That's a lie. Richard is the most. Silence. You're guilty as well. You're moving to the maintenance department starting tomorrow. The bank representative furrowed his brows as he reviewed the documents. This is serious. We'll need to reconsider continuing this project. Please, just give us 1 more week. As the bank representative left, the color drained from Charles's face. Then, his frustration erupted into even more drastic actions. We'll replace the entire development team. Starting today, we'll rebuild the new system from scratch, running 24/7. The entire floor froze at the announcement. Only 2 weeks remained. a physically impossible demand for building a new system. The new development team consisted of Charles's former acquaintances, a group with barely any programming experience, a team of amateurs. Richard, at this rate, the company. Yes, this is going to be disastrous. At that moment, Director Chris from HR quietly approached me. Actually, there's a serious question regarding Charles's credentials. But our conversation was abruptly interrupted. Charles appeared out of nowhere. You seem to be having yet another shady discussion. No, just a work update. Oh, really? Then let's hear this so-called work update. Director Chris mumbled an excuse and quickly left. The next day, she was also reassigned to a regional sales office. As expected, the new system development descended into chaos. The hastily assembled amateur team only added to the confusion. Without even proper testing, the transition to the live environment was forced through. This code is far too risky. It lacks basic security measures. Silence. Don't let amateurs criticize a world standard development method. James was speechless at those words. This team didn't even grasp programming basics, let alone any world standard. And then, the inevitable disaster struck. A major incident occurred, where vast amounts of customer personal information leaked from the test environment. Reports also surfaced that some of the leaked data was circulating on dark websites. An emergency meeting was convened. The expressions on the executives' faces were grim. This is now a matter of the company's survival. Charles desperately began making excuses. This is a remnant from the old regime. A man named Richard deliberately inserted bugs. At that moment, the audit director pulled out some documents. That's not true. This code was written after Richard was reassigned. Moreover, it lacks even basic security measures. Well, that's. Then, an astounding report came in from the HR department. Additionally, I'd like to raise another agenda item regarding Director Charles's credentials. We've discovered a major discrepancy in his background. His claim of an MBA from the US appears to be false. Charles's face turned pale. That's nonsense. I have a legitimate degree. We contacted the university, and they confirmed there's no record of him there. The conference room erupted. Declining technical standards, data leaks, and now falsified credentials. Charles's credibility within the company was about to hit rock bottom. That evening, while working overtime in the maintenance department, James rushed in. Richard, it's serious, Director Charles is. Charles is deleting critical data, even on the backup servers. Realizing the gravity of the situation, I immediately left the maintenance department. When I reached the development floor, there was Charles furiously operating a terminal. I'll erase everything. No trace will remain of my failures. Stop. That data is the company's lifeline. Oh, it's you. It's all because of you. Always getting in my way. Charles frantically typed on the keyboard. Warning messages of data deletion flashed on the screen one after another. The source code for the new system, development history, and even customer information, all crucial company data were being erased. James, get the backup. Oh no, the access rights have already been revoked. The security cameras quietly recorded this moment of madness. Suddenly, the door to the emergency stairwell opened. Members of the system audit team rushed in. We've recorded everything. Any further criminal acts? Criminal? Don't make me laugh. You're the real enemy of this company for rejecting world standard management methods. Just then, the sound of the elevator coming up could be heard. Security must have been called. Charles, realizing his time was up, stood up and slowly pulled out a USB drive. This is my insurance. If this data leaks, the company's stock will surely crash. You don't mean you've stored customer personal information on there? Charles held up the USB drive. We couldn't tell if it already held some of the bank's customer data. The tension in the air was thick. So, how about reconsidering my position now? After all this, what's left? Shut up. An outdated relic like you wouldn't understand what kind of talent the world truly values. At that moment, something unexpected happened. The emergency sprinklers on the floor suddenly activated, spraying water from the ceiling. What? What is this? James murmured quietly. Is this what you call world standard quality? The very system Charles had proudly ordered to be installed had malfunctioned, triggering the sprinklers. Ironically, the USB drive in his hand was soaked in water. Damn, you fools. Then the elevator arrived. Stepping out were security personnel and a company director. What's going on here? Soaked, Charles made one last attempt to defend himself. Director, I can explain. This was all for the good of the company. Save the explanations for the police. Attempted data leak, data tampering. You almost single-handedly destroyed the company's reputation. The situation took a sudden turn. Charles was restrained by security and handed over to the police. However, the company's turmoil was far from over. In fact, this was just the beginning. Just before he was taken away, Charles spat a final remark at me. Remember this, relics like you will never climb back up. Starting the next day, the company found itself at the center of a storm. The media reported daily on the potential leak of personal information. The stock price plummeted. Inquiries flooded in from clients. The development department remained in disarray. No one fully understood the new system Charles had implemented. The sprinkler malfunction was only a glimpse of the issues. Richard, at this rate, restoring customer data might be impossible. What about the backups? Well, on Charles's orders, the entire previous backup system was dismantled. In a corner of the maintenance office, we could only watch in stunned silence. The core systems that had supported the company were now on the verge of collapse. Even the board of directors was now divided. The blame game had begun between those who had endorsed Charles and those who had supported the traditional development team. Then, a new blow landed. Richard, look at this. He handed me a document. It outlined a plan to completely dissolve the development department and outsource all operations. No way. Full outsourcing of the technical department. Yes, it seems the maintenance department will also be dissolved by the end of this month. Over 30 years of accumulated expertise were now on the brink of disappearing. The once proud development department had been reduced to rubble. Staff cuts are inevitable. We'll start with the maintenance department. This announcement sent a murmur across the floor. The myth of lifelong employment was on the verge of shattering. That evening, an email arrived from HR. It announced the opening of voluntary retirement applications, targeting over half of the development team. Richard, what are we supposed to do? Unable to provide an answer, we watched the humid August days slip by. The hum of the air conditioning was the only sound in the silent office. Each day, the expressions on the engineers' faces grew darker. Then one day, a call came through from reception. "Mr. Richard, you have a visitor." When I went to the waiting room, I found the representative from the bank system projects. "Richard, you're aware of the current situation, aren't you?" "Yes. I've also heard about the plans for full outsourcing of development. Given your company's technical expertise, it's truly unfortunate." I struggled to respond, feeling the trust we had built over the years slipping away. "Don't let it get you down, actually. I have another matter to discuss." "Another matter?" "Yes, our bank is planning a new system development, and we would be honored to have someone with your expertise join us." It took me a few seconds to understand what he was implying. In other words, he was offering me a new position. The salary would be more than double your current one, and we can promise you a director level position. The offer was tempting. However, there were still young engineers here, like James, who remained in this company. Could I really climb the career ladder while abandoning them? "I'm sorry, but for now." "I understand. I expected someone like you to answer that way, but you don't have to stay on a sinking ship forever. Take your time to consider it." Leaving his card behind, the bank representative walked away. Watching his back, I felt a storm brewing inside. That night, as I was finishing up overtime, I noticed an envelope on my desk. Opening it, I saw unexpected words jump out at me. "Notice of employment termination." The sender was the HR department. Under the reason, it stated, "significant decline in job performance." The letter seemed to disregard all my achievements and contributions as if they meant nothing. The next morning, as soon as I arrived at work, a young employee from HR approached me. "Mr. Richard, please sign this resignation form. I won't accept an unfair dismissal." "No, this is a voluntary departure arrangement. We'll even provide an enhanced severance package." The engineers on the development floor held their breath, watching the scene. Their eyes showed a mix of worry and anger. "I refuse." "Then we may have to consider legal action." At that moment, James stood up. "I refuse as well. Without Richard, this system will completely collapse." One by one, the other engineers stood in solidarity. However, their defiance led to a new wave of consequences. The next day, each engineer received a disciplinary notice. Transfers, demotions, pay cuts. Various penalties awaited them. As August neared its end, the final notice arrived. Under the president's name, a directive was issued. The complete merger of the development and maintenance departments, along with significant staff cuts. A 30% salary cut for those who stay. This was the company's final ultimatum. The air in the conference room was heavy. The engineers' expressions were dark, tinged with resignation. "Richard, maybe we've reached our limit." No one could argue with those words. Stay with reduced pay or take the severance and leave. We were faced with an ultimate choice. "Let's think it over tonight. We'll decide tomorrow." As I stepped out of the office, the sunset cast the city in red hues. Should I let it all go and seek a new start? The bank's offer was probably still on the table. As I headed toward the taxi stand, I noticed a figure crouched on the corner of the street in the fading twilight. I quickly approached, and as I drew near, I was shocked. The person collapsed. There was Nancy Thomas, the woman I'd saved from a car accident 3 years ago. Back then, I knew I'd fallen for her at first sight, but given the accident, I never expressed my feelings. I'd regretted that ever since. Now, seeing Nancy covered in blood, I lost myself and shouted, "Someone, call for help." As passersby hurried to call an ambulance, I held tightly to Nancy's hand. "Nancy, please stay with me." She'd lost consciousness, leaving only faint breaths. At the hospital, her diagnosis was devastating: traumatic brain injury, complex fractures, internal organ damage. The medical bills would total USD millions. I didn't know much about her family, but there was no time to wait for them to arrive. I made a decision. "Doctor, I'll cover all her medical expenses." But for such a sum, how can a regular employee afford it? I have my severance. I'm prepared to give everything I have. And so, I left the company and dedicated myself to Nancy's recovery. As I waited outside the operating room, a call came from James. "Richard, the company is in serious trouble. I'm sorry, but right now, I have to save Nancy." I ended the call. Saving the life before me was my top priority. Thanks to intensive care, Nancy's condition gradually improved. However, I was told it would take time for her to regain consciousness. I held Nancy's hand as she lay quietly in the hospital room. "Nancy, please wake up. You're important to me." I surprised even myself with those words. A few months later, Nancy finally woke up. I had been concerned about the company during this time, but honestly, I didn't believe my return would change anything. The person I could truly help wasn't the company, it was Nancy. I felt sorry for my team, but I had chosen to prioritize saving a single life. "Richard, it's been a while. You've saved me once again." Yes, I was surprised myself to see you again by chance, but I'm truly glad you're safe. Tears filled Nancy's eyes. "So, you even quit your job for my sake." Hearing my story, Nancy's shoulders dropped. "Please, don't worry about that. I'm satisfied knowing I could help you." I smiled. Yes, I had left the company, but I had no regrets. I had saved someone important to me. Nancy dedicated herself to her rehabilitation and showed miraculous progress. "It's thanks to you, Richard. I want to find a way to repay you." "Repay me? I only did what anyone would do." Nancy held my hand in return. "No, Richard, you're someone special. You're my lifesaver." In that moment, an unspoken emotion passed between us. On the day of her discharge, I came to pick up Nancy. "Nancy, Richard, I feel the same." As if our hearts were connected, we shared a warm smile. "From now on, let's walk this path together." Yes, we're together now. I gently took Nancy's hand, and together we walked, bathed in warm sunlight. Meanwhile, the company I'd left continued to struggle. It was reported that Chris, who had exposed Charles' misconduct, had suddenly passed away. It doesn't make sense Chris wouldn't just, and to do that to himself. Could it have been Charles' doing? With tension in the air, Charles moved forward with a new scheme. He had begun a takeover bid for a company on the verge of bankruptcy. "If I can acquire this company, I can erase all my mistakes." However, the company he was trying to buy was a subsidiary of the Thomas Group. Joseph Thomas's secretary delivered a message to Charles. Chairman Thomas wants you to know that he is fully aware of your wrongdoings. What? If you approach the Thomas Group any further, he won't hesitate to take legal action. Charles turned pale, realizing his misconduct could no longer be hidden. Back at the company, Charles faced a crisis in the executive meeting. Charles, your responsibility is too great. We can't keep you as president any longer. But I was only acting in the company's best interest. Your profit above all approach was flawed. It's time to return to a management style that values our engineers. All of Charles's proposals were rejected, and he was ousted from the president's position. Remember this, I'll have my revenge. With those parting words, Charles stormed out of the company. A dark cloud was beginning to envelop his future. 3 years have passed since then, and I am walking a new path. The relationship with Nancy, whom I reunited with at that time, didn't last long. Parting was painful, but I stepped aside, wishing for her happiness. Now, I work as a regular employee at a small system development company. I no longer have the same level of responsibility, but I feel fulfilled. One morning, as I arrived at work as usual, the receptionist called out to me. Richard, the president wants to see you. The president, all right. Puzzled, I headed to the president's office. After knocking, a low voice responded. Come in. Opening the door, I saw a familiar face. What, Chairman Thomas? Yes. Standing before me was Joseph Thomas, head of the Thomas Group himself. Hey, Richard, it's been a while. What brings you here? Well, actually, this company is part of our group. I couldn't hide my surprise. Joseph sat up and placed a hand on my shoulder. You saved my daughter, Nancy. I'm truly grateful. Oh no, Yes, Nancy was the chairman's daughter. She had told me that many people approached her for money, so she kept her family connections private. That's why I hadn't known until the day I met the chairman at the hospital while Nancy was still unconscious. This debt can't be repaid with money, but I can offer you a place where you can fully utilize your talents. With that, Joseph took out some documents. Please, take on the role of head of technology. I want to entrust the future of Thomas Group's tech strategy to you. Richard's eyes widened. It was an unbelievable offer. But I don't think I'm qualified. No, you are the right person. I admire your courage and decisiveness in saving Nancy, and above all, your passion as an engineer. Joseph's words filled me with warmth. Here was a chance to stand on the front lines of technology once again. Chairman Thomas, thank you, I'll do it. I nodded firmly, and Joseph smiled in satisfaction. Then, another fateful reunion awaited me. Now, let me introduce you to the key person in our new strategy. He pressed a button, and the door opened. You called for me, Father. Nancy. There she was, looking more radiant than ever. Richard, I'm so glad to see you. Nancy, me too. The two of us rejoiced at our reunion, and Joseph nodded happily. Nancy is now in charge of our new business division. I'd like you and Richard to team up. Nancy and I looked at each other in surprise. With cutting-edge technology and fresh ideas, your combined talents will brighten Thomas Group's future. Leave it to us. Nancy and I will work together and deliver results. Richard, let's give it our best. We shook hands firmly. a hopeful light illuminating this new beginning. As the newly appointed head of technology, I immediately began formulating the new strategy. Our strength lies in advanced technology. With this as our weapon, we'll provide unmatched value. I spoke passionately at the board meeting, and the board members listened with admiration. This is an excellent strategy. It will undoubtedly secure our group's advantage. We're counting on you, Richard. You have our full support. Applause echoed in the conference room. I expressed my gratitude and greeted. Back in the tech department, my team greeted me with excitement. Director, we heard the strategy was approved. Now, we can showcase our tech prowess to the world. No, this is just the beginning. The real challenge starts now. My eyes burned with fierce determination. Meanwhile, in the new business division, Nancy's skills were shining. This new product offers groundbreaking value not found in the market. It's bound to capture consumers' hearts. Nancy spoke passionately during her presentation, inspiring her team. As expected from Miss Thomas, her business sense is outstanding. With this, our new venture is sure to be a huge success. Nancy smiled gently. No, I still have a lot to learn. The real work starts now. I need to keep growing. The achievements of Nancy and me brought a fresh breeze to Thomas Group. Richard and Nancy's work is truly remarkable. It was the right decision to bring them on. Joseph nodded with satisfaction. Robert, his secretary, smiled as well. The young lady and Richard make a perfect team. Yes, their bond goes beyond work. It's a unique connection that inspires them to push each other further. A warm smile appeared on Joseph's face as he spoke. One day, Joseph called me in. Chairman Thomas, what is it you needed to discuss? It's about your former company. As I listened, I was stunned. SGI Technology was on the brink of collapse. Charles's misconduct and mistakes have eroded their technical capabilities. Bankruptcy is just a matter of time. I bit my lip. The company where I had left behind so many friends was falling apart. I couldn't just stand by and watch. Chairman Thomas, would you consider acquiring SGI Technology? Joseph looked at me with surprise. An acquisition? Do you plan to turn that company around? Yes, I have. Mentors and colleagues there. I can't abandon them. I spoke earnestly. And Joseph took a moment to think. It's a tough decision, but I'll support your resolve. I'll leave SGI Technology's revival in your hands. Chairman Thomas. I clenched my fist with determination. A new battle was about to begin. Nancy, too, stood by my decision. Richard, I'll support you with everything I have. Together, we'll bring that company back to life. Nancy's words were filled with conviction. In our eyes shone unwavering trust. Nancy, thank you. I'll see this through to the end. Hope filled the air between us. As Joseph nodded in approval, Nancy and I shared a firm handshake, marking the start of a new chapter in the journey to rebuild SGI Technology. 1 week after the acquisition, I returned to my former workplace. As I entered the lobby, familiar faces gathered to greet me. Richard, welcome back. We've been waiting for you, Richard. Everyone, it's good to be back. It's been a while. Surrounded by old friends, I took in the moment. But my expression soon grew serious. I'm sure you've all heard about the acquisition. From here on, we'll work together to turn this company around. I spoke with determination. And the employees, too, wore expressions of resolved commitment. First, let's assess the current situation. Tell me the details about each department. Yes, the system development department is in ruins due to Charles' mistakes. Our best engineers have left one by one, and projects are stalled. The sales department has also lost customer trust, and orders have plummeted. At this rate, the company won't survive. Faced with this harsh reality, I closed my eyes for a moment. But I wasn't ready to give up. No, I'll rebuild this company. I won't abandon it again. At these determined words, a spark lit up in the employee's eyes. Richard, we'll support you with everything we've got. Whatever hardships come, we'll face them together. That's right. With you leading, we'll follow through anything. Cheers filled the room. I felt a surge of gratitude. Just then, the phone rang. Yes, this is Richard. Richard, it's me, Nancy. Nancy, what's going on? There's something I'd like to discuss. Do you have a moment now? Of course, I'll head over right away. I made my way to the headquarters of the Thomas Group. When I entered Nancy's office, I found her waiting, her expression serious. Richard, I have a proposal regarding the SGI technology reconstruction plan. How about utilizing the Thomas Group's technology and collaborating on system development? It would create a win-win relationship. She handed me the proposal document. I was amazed. This is an incredible idea, combining SGI's technical expertise with the Thomas Group's financial resources. Yes, I believe we'll achieve a powerful synergy. Our eyes met, filled with determination and excitement. Nancy, let's make this proposal a reality. I'll need your support. Of course, I'll support you with everything I have, Richard. We shook hands firmly. A new light shining on the path to SGI's recovery. Nancy and I immediately got to work on launching the joint project. Engineers from both companies came together, and the development of a groundbreaking new system began. Richard, with this design, we can significantly cut down on work hours. It'll also drastically improve quality. This algorithm is truly innovative. The engineers, energized, engaged in lively discussions. The passionate atmosphere of the development room had returned. Everyone, great ideas. Let's keep pushing forward. Richard, your leadership is truly inspiring. I'll have to keep up. We exchanged smiles, encouraged by each other's determination. Meanwhile, Chairman Joseph Thomas watched our progress warmly from behind the scenes. With Richard and Nancy working together, there's nothing they can't accomplish. The revival of SGI technology is practically certain. Robert, his secretary, nodded in agreement. Their passion and skill are genuinely inspiring. At this rate, SGI will shine again. The development proceeded smoothly. The new system, named Breakthrough, was already drawing significant attention across the industry. This technology is revolutionary. We're on the verge of SGI Technology's comeback. The collaboration with the Thomas Group has delivered significant results. I look forward to what's next. The media was full of praise. Nancy and I were being highly regarded for our leadership. Then, an unexpected update came in. News about Charles's whereabouts. Richard, it seems Charles has joined another company. He's using the same tactics again. My face darkened. Charles was once more exploiting a company for his own gain. Charles's methods are unacceptable. We have to stop him. Richard, let's fight together to defeat Charles and protect a healthy company culture. Nancy spoke with determination. And with that, a new battle began. Suddenly, SGI Technology's stock price began to fluctuate wildly. The shadow of Charles's schemes loomed, and we felt a chill run through us. It seems Charles is buying up our company's stock. He might be planning a takeover. I clenched my fists, but quickly regained my composure. James, check the shareholder register immediately. Tom, get in touch with Charles's current workplace. Yes, sir. Understood. The team sprang into action without hesitation. I called Nancy. Nancy, there's no one else I can rely on. I need your help. Of course, I'll speak to my father right away. We'll stop Charles's ambitions together. There wasn't a moment to lose. We put all our efforts into strategizing a solution. A few hours later, I received good news. The Thomas Group had gathered friendly shareholders, securing the majority of the shares. With this, we should have thwarted Charles's scheme. The control of SGI Technology is firmly in our hands. Thank you so much, Chairman Thomas, I said, feeling a wave of relief as Nancy smiled beside me. This is wonderful. Now the future of SGI Technology is secure. We embraced tightly. A moment filled with trust and renewed bonds. Then came the day of the breakthrough launch event. With journalists and analysts gathered, Nancy and I stepped onto the stage confidently. Our breakthrough system will bring a paradigm shift to the industry, I announced. By combining the knowledge of SGI Technology and Thomas Group, we're bringing immense value to society, Nancy added. The room burst into applause, and the media showered us with praise. We're in awe of your talent and leadership. The future of SGI Technology looks incredibly bright, one of them said. As the excitement filled the room, Nancy and I shook hands, overwhelmed with gratitude. Nancy, we wouldn't be here without you, thank you. Truly. No, Richard, I'm grateful to you. Fighting alongside you has been a true blessing. Nancy and I exchanged bright, radiant smiles. Now, a new chapter in our legacy had begun. In this way, SGI Technology pushed through Charles's interference and continued its strong path toward revival. Meanwhile, legal actions against Charles were steadily advancing. Thomas Group's legal team was meticulously compiling evidence. Charles's fraudulent actions clearly violate securities law. He won't escape responsibility civilly and criminally. Hearing this report, the chairman nodded with satisfaction. Charles must face the consequences of his actions. There's no place for corporate cancers like him. Finally, legal judgment was passed on Charles. Charles Jones has been arrested on charges of securities law violations. He is suspected of illegal trading of SGI Technology stocks. Watching the news on TV, Nancy and I both felt a sense of relief. With this, the threat of Charles is gone. Now, we can continue to move forward with integrity. Yes, the future of SGI Technology is solid now. We shook hands firmly, filled with pride and joy for enduring and winning this long battle. Several months later, SGI Technology had made an impressive comeback. I stood proudly on stage at the launch event for our new product. I am thrilled to present the successor to our breakthrough system. Next stage, this is a revolutionary product embodying the pinnacle of our technology. When the system demonstration began, the audience erupted in cheers. Incredible! This is undoubtedly going to be a game changer, The comeback of SGI technology is nothing short of a miracle. Richard's skill is truly genius. The room filled with praise. Richard, that was an amazing presentation. I'm genuinely moved. Nancy, this was only possible through our collaboration. This was not achieved by my effort alone. Nancy and I exchanged smiles. The depth of our bond was clear to everyone in the room. At the end of the ceremony, Joseph Thomas appeared as a surprise guest. Everyone, I sincerely congratulate you on SGI Technology's revival, and I also have an announcement to make. As the room fell silent, Joseph continued. I am appointing Richard Smith as the new president of SGI Technology. A murmur spread through the room. I too couldn't hide my surprise. And the Thomas Group will fully acquire SGI Technology as a subsidiary. Moving forward, we'll leverage the full power of our group to support SGI's growth. The room swelled with joy and emotion. I was so overwhelmed, I was at a loss for words. Richard, congratulations. I know you'll lead SGI to become a world-class company. Nancy, let's carve out a new era together with SGI Technology. Thus, the first step toward my new role as president and a new dream began. Then came the day of Charles Jones's sentencing. We hereby sentence defendant Charles Jones to 5 years of imprisonment. From the gallery, Nancy and I watched the moment unfold. Charles, take the time to truly understand the weight of your actions. I believe he'll find his path to redemption someday. I want to have faith in that. With a forgiving heart, we looked at Charles. In that gaze, there was no resentment or anger, only hope for the future. SGI Technology stepped into a new era. All the employees gathered around me. Everyone, the journey here was anything but smooth. The threat from Charles, the very survival of our company. We overcame these challenges thanks solely to everyone's unity and hard work. The employees nodded with deep emotion. No, President Richard, it's because of you that we've achieved this. We were just doing our best to follow your lead. That's right. Without your unwavering leadership, SGI Technology wouldn't be where it is today. I felt a surge of warmth fill my heart, overwhelmed with gratitude for my supportive colleagues. At that moment, the doors of the hall opened and the chairman appeared. Richard, everyone, congratulations. I offer my heartfelt congratulations on SGI Technology's new beginning. Chairman Thomas, we are here solely because of your support. I am deeply grateful. As I greeted, the chairman gave a gentle smile. No, I only believed in your abilities. SGI's revival is undoubtedly due to your expertise, Richard. I couldn't be prouder. As applause filled the room, the chairman continued. And now, I would like you to lead the entire Thomas Group. I am entrusting SGI's presidency to James. A stir spread through the room. I couldn't hide my surprise. But Chairman, I'm not sure I have the strength for that yet. No, you're more than ready. With the skill you showed in reviving SGI, I can trust you to steer the entire group. At this time, would you consider becoming a member of the Thomas family? A single tear rolled down my cheek at those words. Chairman, I am deeply honored, At that moment, Nancy rushed over. Richard, congratulations, and I have a request of my own. She took my hand as she spoke. There's something I've always wanted to say. I've regretted ending things with you so abruptly back then. But now, I'm independent, and I can support you. Let's lead the Thomas Group together, Richard, please. Marry me. The room erupted in cheers and murmurs of excitement. Nancy, I am the luckiest man alive. The thought of a future by your side is beyond wonderful. A Thomas family engagement ring slid onto Nancy's finger. Richard, Nancy, congratulations. All of SGI's employees celebrate the start of your new journey together. Thunderous applause celebrated the two of us. Thank you, everyone, and James, I'm entrusting SGI to you. Please take good care of this team. Yes, I will carry on President Richard's vision and vow to strengthen SGI's bonds even further. Nancy and I waved with bright smiles. Everyone couldn't help but feel hopeful watching us, the pair entrusted with the future of the Thomas Group. Meanwhile, Charles faced a prison sentence for violating securities laws. His former glory was shattered beyond recognition. After his time in prison, Charles found himself met with the very nightmare he had created. Former colleagues, fearful of his past misconduct, avoided him. Days passed with him being turned away at every attempt to find new employment. Spending his days drinking beer in a dingy apartment, Charles descended into despair. Damn it, Richard stole my whole life from me. Haunted by nightmarish nights. Trapped in an inescapable reality. Charles refused to accept that all of this was the result of his own actions. One day, a man appeared before Charles. It was David, who had once been Charles's subordinate. Charles, it's been a long time. David, what do you want from me? I'm here to help you. Charles couldn't believe the unexpected offer. There's a rechallenge support program entrusted to me by President Richard. It's available for you too. Don't joke with me. I have no reason to accept Richard's pity. Consumed by resentment, Charles rejected David's extended hand. But David didn't give up. President Richard doesn't hold any grudge against you. In fact, he wants you to find happiness too. Why? I tried to ruin his life. Even so, why? President Richard said that it's a true victor's duty to give even those who've made mistakes a second chance. Those words brought tears to Charles's eyes. Richard, I was truly a fool. Charles, it's not too late. Choose to walk this path with us. David extended his hand. Slowly, Charles reached out and took it. The Rechallenge Support Program. It was a chance for Charles to carve out a new life. He started working at the very company he once tried to destroy. His assigned role was basic warehouse duties, the lowest level work. I'm doing this kind of job. Though filled with discontent, Charles worked steadily. And then he began to notice something. Charles, thanks for helping with the inventory. Your advice really helped us improve efficiency. Is my work actually helping someone? For the first time, he felt a sense of fulfillment. The joy of contributing to someone's success. Day by day, Charles began to change little by little. Then came one particular morning. Charles, thank you for your hard work. Richard, no, President, This company wouldn't be complete without you, Charles. You're an essential asset to us. At those words, Charles burst into tears. To think someone like me could still be needed. Yes, we can't change the past, but from now on, let's look forward together. I extended my hand. Charles grasped it firmly. President, thank you. I'll start anew alongside this company. And so, Charles found his place. The man once cast out by SGI was saved by SGI. The autumn of Charles's life began to show color once more. 5 years have passed since then. Time passed since my wedding with Nancy. Standing in front of our headquarters, surrounded by vibrant greenery, I took a moment to feel the flow of time. SGI technology has steadily grown and firmly established itself as a global enterprise. The younger generation, like James and Tom, is rising, bringing fresh energy to the company. James, who took over my position as SGI's president, keeps the team together, often throwing in a joke or two while showing strong leadership. Richard, remember to clock out on time for a date with the missus. Hey now, coming from a single guy. But I really admire a couple like you and Nancy. Tom shrugged as he said that. It seems our marriage has become a model for the younger employees. When I get home, Nancy greets me in the warmly lit living room. Welcome back, honey. Thanks for working hard again today. Yeah, I'm home. I had a great day. I love seeing everyone's faces. That's wonderful. I love seeing your happy face too. Peaceful days. Every day feels filled with happiness, as if the struggles of the past were a distant memory. What brings me even greater joy now is our child's presence. In our 3rd year of marriage, we were blessed with a long-awaited son. Daddy. My son Daniel's voice echoes from the entrance. Hey, Daniel, Daddy wanted to get home early too. I lift Daniel high in the air. Seeing his smile feels like a breath of fresh air for my soul. Daniel, how about taking a bath with Mommy? Yeah, and then Daddy can join us too. Daddy will take his turn a little later. As I watch them, Nancy and Daniel head joyfully toward the bathroom. These simple, everyday moments have become the most precious time for me. From time to time, I also make courtesy visits to Chairman Thomas. Richard, your recent success in expanding to ASEAN was truly outstanding. Thank you. This success is due in no small part to your support, Chairman. No, it's thanks to the talents of you and James. Trusting you both with the company was worth it. The chairman smiled, clearly pleased. It was this man who had supported my marriage to Nancy back then. I often feel that my happiness now exists because of him. He's been a mentor in life, and now he's also my father-in-law. I feel deep respect and gratitude toward him. One day, I found myself standing on the rooftop of our headquarters. The city stretched far into the distance, filled with people sharing smiles and conversations. If our technology can contribute, even a little, to people's happiness, thinking of that warmed my heart. The days I've spent with Nancy are everything to me now. I feel the same. Meeting you has truly made me happy. Our shadows, cast by the setting sun, slowly merge together. From now on, let's keep supporting and encouraging each other. Let's walk forward together. With our invaluable friends and our irreplaceable family by our side. I made this vow in my heart. The sunset sky gently illuminated the happy future awaiting Nancy and me.